Bambu Lab just released their next H-series printer, the H2S. Is this the printer we've all been waiting for? You're about to find out on the 3D Printing Zone. When the printer first arrived, I was a little disappointed. I thought it would be bigger. It wasn't until I opened the box that I realized this was just the air filter. The H2S is huge, heavy, and just like its sibling, the H2D, it can 3D print, laser engrave, cut with a blade, and draw. Before we show the items we've created, let's talk about the unboxing experience, setting it up, and other important specs. As a disclaimer, Bambu Lab sent me this printer for the purpose of making this video. However, unlike every other sponsor I've worked with, they don't give you a list of things that should be said, that shouldn't be said. They don't even ask that you let them review it before posting, which means I don't have to censor anything and I can just be as open as possible. Bambu Lab does not pay us to make this video. If you're interested in buying the H2S, we've dropped a link down below. Using that link gives us a small commission and helps us to continue making videos like this. The unboxing experience was not too bad, but when I lifted this 80-pound box onto my table, I actually threw out my back. I had to go on a work trip the next day. The plane ride was miserable. The car drives, it was just, I couldn't move. So make sure you have two people when you're lifting this printer. In order to get this box open, you need to understand how these little black tabs work, or you'll get really frustrated. You'll notice as I pull this tab out, it allows these anchors to move in so I can pull out these little black pieces. So just make sure you remove all four of these black tabs by pulling out this little lever first, and then sliding it out. Otherwise, you'll have a real difficult time getting this outer shell box off. Once it's unboxed, you just need to take out the AMS in the middle with all the screws that it directs you to unscrew. Bambu Lab sent me the laser version, which means it has a safety protective film on this acrylic. When I bought the H2D, I didn't get the laser version and it came with a glass door. Because this is the laser version, I've added the vent on the back and connected that to the air filter that they supplied, which is really nice. I don't have any windows in my studio, so having an air filter will be very helpful. I'm curious to see if I still smell smoke as it's laser engraving. Something I love about this printer is the auto calibration. I'm not just talking about bed leveling and flow calibration. I'm talking about vibration compensation, which you've seen other printers do, but something I haven't seen any other printer do that Bambu Lab does so well is noise calibration, which means it will move around a ton and detect how noisy it is and find the sweet spot so you can have it sitting in your office, get on work calls, and no one will know it's even running. No joke, I have this one and the H2D just 5 feet away from me, and when I'm on calls, you can't hear a thing. Let's talk about the build plate. The build volume for this printer is 340 by 320 by 340 millimeters, which is very close to the H2D. In fact, here is the H2S bed and here is the H2D bed. Are they the exact same size or are they a little different? They're the exact same size, which means if you have multiple bed types, like I have a smooth plate and a textured plate, I can interchange them depending on my needs. We're creating a complete video with the H2D versus the H2S, so I won't be sharing a whole lot more regarding those two printers and how they compare. But one thing I will say is they are the exact same shape and size, down to the millimeter. The only other difference is the H2D has a side panel on the left and the right that you can look into, and it comes with two nozzles, which we finally realize what the D stands for with H2D. Dual nozzles. H2S, single nozzle. It's all making sense now. When it comes to printable material types, this thing can pretty much print them all. The hardened steel nozzle goes up to 350 degrees Celsius, the bed goes up to 120 degrees Celsius, and the chamber can actively heat up to 65 degrees Celsius, which means you can print things like ASA, PETG, ABS, nylon carbon fiber. I mean, if there's a material you want to use, this one will most likely print it. The print head can go as fast as 1,000 millimeters per second, and the print speed is limited to 600 millimeters per second. If you're new to 3D printing, that is so fast, and it competes with other fast printers out there. You might be wondering, what's the difference between this printer and the non-laser edition? Well, we already talked about the safety film, which lets you view the laser engraving while it's happening. But another thing that is so nice that a lot of laser engravers don't come with today is air assist. This thing has a built-in air pump, and as it's engraving, it's blowing air out of the nozzle, which not only protects the laser lens, but it helps cut through material a lot cleaner, a lot faster, and gives you those crisp lines. If you buy the non-laser edition, you can upgrade you'll just have an external pump. The other difference is this one comes with an emergency stop switch. I did test it and it does work. When the H2D was released, I bought it the first minute they opened to the market. I chose not to get the laser edition because I didn't know how I felt about smoke and debris and other stuff just getting in my 3D printing area. Dust isn't the best thing when you're trying to get a 3D print to stick to the bed. So I hesitated, I didn't buy the laser version. Now that we have one, we're gonna laser engrave a bunch of stuff and see if it affects 3D printing. So let's start with laser engraving. To install the laser engraver, you remove the front cover of the 3D print head along with a little extruder disc. Those are both cosmetic. I don't know if you ever need them on, so as you're switching back and forth, you could probably leave it off. Once that's removed, slide the laser engraver in the grooves and lock it in place, then plug it in. The next step is to install the laser assist tube. That's this black tube right here. The last step is to switch out the bed with the laser bed. The bed does require some assembly. You just place these metal sheets in the slots on the bed. This helps lift up the part you're engraving so it can have a better, cleaner cut as it's cutting through materials. For my first experience installing this laser, I have some concerns. I took off the top glass so I can have a better view of installing the laser, putting in the tube, everything. It just feels like if that glass top is there and I'm reaching in, it'll be hard to switch things out. When we go from the laser engraver to the 3D printer, we'll see how difficult it really is. Once I plugged in the engraver, it automatically started calibrating the settings. I've owned a lot of laser engravers, and it was so nice to have it run these calibrations automatically, where I'm normally having to autofocus or fine-tune the laser engraver before I can start engraving. This laser engraves a bunch of small lines. Then it goes over with its onboard camera to detect which line looks the most crisp, the most clean, the least amount of burn. Then it picks that one and puts it in the settings. That's just, I've never seen something like that before. Like I said, I've had a lot of engravers, and with everyone, you specify which line looks the cleanest to you. We'll see how well this artificial intelligence does. The first thing I want to engrave is this cork hotbed. We've had these for many, many years. Despite all my laser engravers, I never got around to laser engraving one of these, so we're gonna do that first. Oh shoot, I guess I can't engrave this yet. It says it needs to be 2 millimeters. Let me switch this out with the provided cork and we'll try our first engraving. We'll start with this design I found on the Bambu suite. Which reminds me, this is not Bambu Studio. Bambu Studio is for 3D printing, and they released another software with the H2D for laser engraving, cutting, and drawing, and that's called Bambu Suite. So if you get the laser edition and you're wondering, how do I laser engrave with the Bambu Studio? You don't, you use the Bambu Suite. All right, let's start this first engraving. When this printer is engraving, it gives you a live feed on your computer and it shows the live feed right here. I think the reason they did that is because even though you can see through this material, it doesn't give you the best view. You'll see that as we continue to engrave, it starts to collect a lot of that dust. As soon as I started this engraving, I noticed an issue. You can see it starting to bow where the engraver is going across it. At first I thought, that's a powerful laser to be pushing down the material. And then I remembered it's just the air assist just bending that down. Easy fix. I just grabbed one of those brackets and put it up there at the top. That looks amazing. I now have a little coaster and it took no time at all, no guesswork. I just clicked engrave. Now let's try engraving and cutting wood. Let's try this bear puzzle. My kids love puzzles. Maybe this is something they'll enjoy as well. All right, let's send this to the printer. Now, one thing to note, every time you send an engraving to the printer, there's a button right here you have to push. And that's just a safety feature that I've seen on many engravers. You can send it from your phone, you can send it from a computer, but you need to initiate it by pushing start process or pushing a button. That's just typical. While this is printing, I'm gonna turn up my air filter. I really don't want it to smell like smoke in here. This puzzle is great, but I'd love to have a base for it. Let's see how easy it is to create that. Within Bambu Studio, you can put images, vectors, and choose different shapes. We'll go ahead and take the shape of this outer ring and size it in a way that we can have a base and the edges to hold the puzzle in. That was awesome, so easy. Let's put this puzzle together and see how it looks. That's just so cool. My kids are gonna love this. Now let's try engraving acrylic. Bambu Lab sent me this black acrylic, and we're gonna start with our new logo that we just released. When engraving an image, there are 4 options. There's origin, binary, sketch, and relief. I couldn't tell you what each of these meant a couple weeks ago. I still don't understand exactly what each one does, but I can tell you my experience as we go through these engravings. For this first logo, I'll start with origin. From what I understand, origin will try to match the color depth and brightness and darkness onto whatever you're engraving. So the darker it is, the more powerful it will engrave. The lighter the color, the lighter the power will be on the engraver. I've never cut acrylic before. I think you leave this film on, so we'll go ahead and put it in there with the film on. When you send an engraving to the printer, it gives you this warning in red. I didn't read it, because if I did, that second paragraph talks about how you should remove the film when engraving acrylic. I didn't read it, I sent it to the printer. When I tried to initiate the print from the printer, it stopped me. It was like, hold up, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. We need to remove that film. I'm a beginner to laser engraving with this printer, and it's here to help me not make a mistake, not start a fire. This looks amazing, and you can see there's a slight difference in the color variation. Now, if this were on wood where you really can get more of that depth of different colors, it would probably show up a lot more. Let's try switching this to binary and see if we can get just a one color sweep. And I'll also add a little hole at the top so I can make this a keychain. That looks amazing. I love the one color. I also like the two color, and you can see the difference just slightly on camera. Now that I understand this engraving a little better, let's try printing on this cork. There's a setting on the far right that lets you click to automatically detect the part height. You can also do it manually, but I want to see how well this does just through automation. Something else I haven't talked about is this button at the top where you can capture the image and see exactly where you want to place your item. I found this cool design for my hot pad. Let's go ahead and place it exactly where we want it and send it to the printer. That came out looking so good, and I love that it fits around the part almost exactly. I was a little worried about that, but it looks like it's right in the middle. Now let's try printing yellow acrylic. I have a concern about this one. I don't know if the laser engraver is powerful enough to engrave on light material. Maybe it's not the power, but I've just seen other times where I've tried to engrave on lighter materials and it doesn't work, including engraving PLA and other 3D printed materials. So let's do a circle test first and see if this can actually cut. And while that's cutting, I did want to mention this is the 10-watt laser. You can also purchase the 40-watt laser. Okay, that actually worked. That looks good. Let's place these down and use another feature that Bambu Suite has called batch engraving. To use batch engraving, you need to place your first engraving item, and then Bambu Lab will take that and spread it across all of your batched items automatically. That is so awesome. It's so much work to try to get every one of those placed yourself. Imagine if I had 20 items or 40 items. I can click one button and have it automatically place them on every single part. Let's send this to the printer and see if it can actually engrave and see that engraving. When this came off the engraver, my initial thought was, that's right, it's not showing up that well. We can't do yellow engraving. So I put the black acrylic back in and did the same engraving, and that came out looking so much better. But I realized something. When I placed the black acrylic, I chose the binary setting. That's why it came out looking so good. I went back, watched the recording of the screen, and realized with the yellow one, I chose sketch, not binary, which is why you just see that outline. Let's put the yellow back in, auto batch, and choose binary. That came out looking so much better. I just had the settings wrong. My bad. I won't show everything we engraved, but here's some keychains with our logo on it. I also played around with other materials like cardstock, printer paper, and I even engraved a blue sticky note. Check this out. This is a blue sticky note, and you can see when the light passes through it, you can actually see through the paper, but if you look really close, you can tell that it's still attached. There's still some film in there, which means with the A, the D, and the E's, you're still keeping the little insert in the inside. That's something I thought was impossible with laser engraving. I chose to use the Sweet Bath Co. logo because we love their bath bombs. We also love their business model and their target audience. They target kids to help encourage them to take baths and stay clean. They also help employ working moms and work around their tricky schedules with kids. If you like a unique bath bomb experience with all these different types of molds, check out the link below. And you can also use our discount code 3DPZ. They're not sponsoring this video or anything, but we love their bath bombs and you've got to check them out. I've had a ton of fun with this laser engraver. I'll give you my ultimate opinion and thoughts once we get through the 3D printing and all the other modules. On to 3D printing. It's time to switch out the head. This time I'll leave the glass on, the AMS is on top. I don't want to have to pull that off, pull the glass off every time I have to remove and switch out the print heads. Reaching in there and removing the laser wasn't actually that difficult. The only hard part was reaching all the way in the back and trying to detach the air assist. You could probably get away with not doing that, leaving the air assist in there and just attached to the cord and just detaching it from the laser engraving head itself. Most of the time I removed it from the back, but I also have longer arms and it didn't really bother me. The time it takes to switch out these different modules is less than a minute, including removing the bed and switching it for the laser bed or for the cutting bed. If you've watched some of our other videos, you know we always start with a benchy. Let's try that first. Bambu Lab always sends a pre-sliced benchy. We'll go ahead and use that one. I was recently sent this new filament. It has green on one side, blue on the other. It's a beautiful color. Let's try that with the benchy. That came out okay. I'm kind of disappointed in the bridging and I also see more stringing than I'm used to. But I don't think that's the printer's fault. This is a new company with new filament. It could be that maybe there's too much moisture in the filament. Let's switch this filament to Bambu Lab and see how that does. That came out so much better. The bridging looks amazing. The stringing is minimum to none. There's only one thing I'll say about this. There's a little sag here at the bottom, which kind of surprises me. That's facing the fan. Maybe I'll try printing this again later and see if that's still the case, but everything else looks so good and I'm very impressed with this. This print took over 20 minutes. Let's try ludicrous mode and see if we can do better. That is going so fast. It just paused. The extrusion motor is overloaded. This isn't the first time I've seen that when trying to print ludicrous mode and trying to print a benchy. We created a whole video of the benchy experience with the H2D and some of the things that we ran into. So this feels familiar. I decided to not change a thing. I wouldn't hit print and it finished printing the model. Bambu Lab sent me a huge file that has a full upper body armor. It's a suit that's called the Shadow Forged. They also sent me 6 kilograms of iron gray metallic PLA. That's 6 of these. I wonder if we'll need all 6 kilograms to print this armor. That's a lot. Printing that many kilograms of filament could take days or weeks. I'm gonna switch out my 0.4 millimeter nozzle. I don't have any 0.6 millimeter nozzles that were made just for the H2S. However, I have some for my H2D. I'm gonna see if that will work. Okay, good, it does. Let's start the armor with the back plate. That's one of the biggest pieces. I think it'll probably take the longest. With the speed of this printer and at 0.6 millimeters, it'll print this piece in 6 hours. If you're new to 3D printing, you might be like, whoa, 6 hours to print that, but that is crazy fast. I started printing in 2017. You could maybe print 2 or 3 benchies in 6 hours. And now we could print half a kilogram of filament in 6 hours. But how does it look? Let's see. This is looking amazing already. I should note this is printing at 0.3 millimeters. That's usually higher than I like to go, but with a part so big, it'll help speed up the print time and you don't need as fine of detail. That looks so good. The supports on the back and on the bottom practically fell off. Wow, that looks amazing. Let's print the rest. Wow, it looks so good. This print quality is some of the best I've ever seen. Of course, now that I say that, this next piece did not come out as clean. But that's not the printer's fault. Up here at the top, we have some very wobbly pieces. That's because they're being held to the bed by just the tiny little piece at the bottom, which is very impressive for that type of bed adhesion. I should have printed this with supports at least halfway through so it didn't wobble so much at the top. That wobbling is nothing to do with the printer. That's just a part that is extended way too far. Next, we have the chest piece. This is another large piece to print. That looks so good. This is just amazing, crisp. The details, even at 0.3 millimeters, are phenomenal. Wow, that just looks so good. These next two parts actually go together. I printed the top piece at 0.2 millimeters just to show you the difference of quality, and that looks absolutely amazing. This goes on top of the other shoulder piece that you're seeing now. And this one I printed at 0.3 millimeters, but even then, it just looks so good. This printer doesn't have any skipped lines, no layer shifting, no blobs, just beautiful printing. Now let's print some of the gem pieces that go into the sword and the armor. I bought this red glitter PLA to better present the gems, and they came out looking beautiful. I used the same color for the internal sword pieces, and they look perfect. I finally had my first failed print. Luckily, the AI detection worked. It stopped printing the moment that this fell off the bed, and it detected there was an issue. I'm actually okay this happened. I wanted to see if the AI would detect a failed print. Now this piece is solid. It could have fallen off for many reasons, but I'm gonna switch out this build plate with the H2D build plate, that smooth plate. It is my favorite plate to use on all my printers, and parts just stick so well to it. That came out so much better, and it didn't fail. It just looks awesome. Now it's time to put everything together. Placing these gems inside of the sword handle was so satisfying. They fit perfectly. I didn't need glue. They just popped in, and they're not gonna fall out. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about the little rod that goes into the sword. It was just a little too thick. I should have gone back and just scaled it down. Instead, I decided it'd be faster to sand it. Well, I sanded it and it didn't work. I then tried putting on some lubricant. That didn't work either. So then I pulled out my favorite battery-powered Dremel tool, and it took me 20 minutes to sand this thing down, making a mess of my office to finally get it to fit. If this were my design, I'd go back and just shrink it down a little bit. Maybe if I scaled it down, that would have been better. For the maker of the Shadow Forged, please make that adjustment. Everything else fits so perfectly well. Just a little miss there. The way this rod works is it fits in the blade first like this. The little arrow goes into the bigger arrow. Then it goes all the way through the guard and into the handle of the sword. This is all held in place with two gems at the bottom of the sword. I could glue it together, but I want to see if I can put this whole thing together without any glue. Next, you build the rest of the blade with these little studs. This was so satisfying. Every part fit so perfectly well. The printer is precise. The design is immaculate. I loved putting this sword together. And look at this thing. It is a beast. It's beautiful. There is one thing I would do differently, and that is you can see that because this is an iron metallic PLA, the sheen or the shine, whatever you want to call it, is a little different between these two. That's because they were printed in the opposite direction. So when the light hits it, you can see it changes differently. So I'd probably go back in the print and just orient them the same direction. Just rotate them so that they're all printing the same, because we have these two bottom pieces that have that same shine, and then this top one is a little different. Other than that, this thing looks amazing. And when we get to the later part in this video where we put the suit on, you're gonna see it. It's amazing. The chest, helmet, and shoulder gems were a little harder to put in. I had to push a little more pressure, but that just means I don't need glue, and they're going to stay in probably forever. Now, this printer isn't perfect. I'll share more of my thoughts at the end, but I did run into an issue where the AI detection didn't work. Just watch this clip. So this print is failing, and I want to see how long it takes for the AI to detect it. Oh, it's just gonna drive right over that. I've had a lot of issues with this filament, so I won't be using that filament again. It doesn't seem to stick that well to the bed. And this one is actually printing really well. That's the H2D, right? And the H2S. Yeah, let's make sure that the AI detection is on. Spaghetti detection, it should be detecting spaghetti. Yeah, it's on. Let's see how long it takes for it to notice. Oh, look at it go. This is just getting worse and worse. The AI detection, it's like it doesn't even exist. We're gonna try moving this up to high and see if that changes anything. I might just stop this. It's getting embarrassing now and I don't want it to ruin anything. It just keeps on going. Okay, I'm just gonna try grabbing this. There we go. And we'll see if it detects the actual spaghetti. All right, I have stopped the print. We are gonna do report a monitoring spaghetti failure. I still don't understand why the AI detection didn't detect such a massive problem. I turned it up to the high setting and it didn't change a thing. I'm filming this before it's even released, so hopefully in an update, they will fix that issue. I know what the AI detection works, it did in the past, but it just didn't work for this part. Now you might also think, there's another issue with this printer, it didn't stick well to the bed. That's 100% because of the filament I was using. It was super moist. I've just always struggled with this spool. It never really sticks well. I have to heat it up. Anyway, I switched out the filament to that same iron filament I used for the suit, and this thing stuck well to the bed and it looks beautiful. There's still a lot I want to test with the 3D printer module. We'll be testing ABS, ASA, carbon fiber filaments. Make sure you subscribe so you can see more of those videos when they're released. I did print with PETG or PETG, and it came out looking absolutely amazing. This is a coffin mold that Sweet Bath Co. uses for their fun holiday bath molds. Again, we have a link down below if you want to pick up any of these bath bombs. They're beautiful and they smell so good. Before I put on the Shadow Forged armor, let's switch over to the cutting tool and the drawing tool. We'll start with the cutting mode and then switch it to the drawing tool. If you're new to this channel, we do printer videos, new releases like this all the time. I legally can't tell you what printers are coming or what printers we may or may not have, but make sure you keep coming back so you can see those new printers. One of them is just, it blows my mind what's coming. Every time I switch out heads on this printer, it gets easier and easier. I'm going faster and faster. I'm now down to about 30 seconds to switch out the head with the bed. Speaking of the bed, the cutting module comes with two sides. There's a strong grip and there's a light grip. I'll be using the light grip for this video. When it started calibrating and leveling the bed, it had me worried. I mean, it's just a blade that comes down and hits the bed over and over again. I guess it's made for that, but it still had me a little concerned it was gonna dull the blade or break something, but it's fine. Bambu Lab knows what they're doing. For our first test, I have this reflective material that Bambu Lab sent. Let's try cutting out our logo first. As I'm placing this where I want it, I want to highlight something I love about Bambu Suite. That's the ability to make edits on the fly. For example, I don't want this outer border on my logo, so I'll go ahead and delete that, and I can do that right within this tool. I almost made another mistake. I placed the material down with the reflective material facing up, thinking that's how it should work. Bambu Lab detected that and said, hold up, you gotta flip this upside down, it prints better that way. But they didn't just do that. They also gave me this option to go ahead and automatically flip the image so it's mirrored so that it's not backwards when it cuts. That's awesome. I would have printed this and had a mistake of having it backwards, wasted material, had to go back and print it again. And when I say print, I mean cut. Let's send this to the cutter and see how it does. That's moving faster than I anticipated, and it took less than a minute. As I pulled off this sticker, I was distracted. I was talking to my daughter and I pulled almost the whole thing off without realizing I was pulling just the backing off. This would have ruined the whole sticker. Make sure when you pull this off, you're grabbing both the top and bottom layer, pulling the whole thing off like this. All right, my first thoughts here. This didn't go deep enough. I had to break apart some of the logo and even cut it with scissors to make it look the way it does. If Bambu Lab is watching this video, maybe you can put in your presets to just apply a little more pressure when it's cutting that reflective material. I could go back and I could do it again myself, but we're just gonna see where we can place this sticker and see how it looks. Something that always has reflective material is a bicycle helmet. Let's try that. That looks amazing. I love how this material looks on this helmet. The logo's not bad either. The next thing I want to try is cutting a generic piece of printer paper. I found this birthday card design on Bambu Suite. Let's give that a try. Well, that did not work so well. The settings call for 80 grams with this generic paper. I don't know how many grams my printer paper is. Maybe it's more than that, but I'll choose the cardstock option to make sure it applies more pressure. That's much better. When you compare these two cuts, the 80 grams to the cardstock, on the right, you can see the 80 grams is not pressing down as far as the one on the left with the cardstock. It's pushing more pressure. It's digging deeper into that paper. I'm not a huge sticker cutting fan. I've never really done that as much, which is another reason I didn't buy that for the other printer, the H2D. And here's one of the reasons I don't like it. The cleanup process takes a while. Having to remove every single one of these tiny little pieces took about 10 minutes and some of my sanity. This birthday card is just on paper. Let's try using actual cardstock and this little blue cardstock paper that Bambu Lab sent us so we can create an actual birthday card. This time I'm gonna peel this off very carefully, making sure I don't rip anything. That came out looking so good. Let's glue this to the card and then switch to the drawing tool and write something on the left side. I didn't look at the instructions on how to switch out the blade to the drawing tool, but I did find that you can pull out the blade. Now, as you're doing this, make sure you are careful because that blade is very sharp, it's small, it's easy to miss, so just don't hurt yourself, please. This drawing tool has a little insert, so let's just try pushing it up and see how it works. I have no idea if I installed this correctly. It feels kind of loose. I don't know if it's gonna work, but let's go ahead and create a design, send it to the drawing tool, and see how it looks. Bambu Lab just had another anniversary. Let's go ahead and say, happy anniversary, Bambu Lab. All right, here goes nothing. This is so satisfying to watch. That looks so good. It honestly looks like somebody wrote it with really good handwriting. This is mind-blowing. I didn't think I would really like the drawing tool that much, and I don't know if I'll actually use it that often, but it was impressive to watch and it was very exciting. We've tested the engraver, we've tested the 3D printer, the cutting tool, and the drawing tool. Now it's time for my overall thoughts, and then we're gonna try this armored suit. With the drawing tool, I was pleasantly surprised. Again, I don't know if I'll use it very often, and I didn't use it very much. This is just the one thing that I did, but it was very cool, and I can see it having multiple use cases for those that need it. The one issue I did find is when it did that first homing where it tapped down, it just stayed down and it actually bled through. I feel like they could do that a little differently. So Bambu Lab, instead of having it come down and hold, have it just maybe tap like it does when it homes in other areas, because when it sat down, it saturated the paper and came onto the backside. Not the biggest deal in the world. That's the only minor issue or detail I'd give. With the cutting module, like I said, I'm not a huge sticker fan. It just seems like a lot more work than it's worth to me. That's not to everyone. But if I needed a sticker cutting machine, I would use this one. I've had other sticker cutter machines that were also laser engravers, and this one just takes a lot of the guesswork out. It tells you if you should have something flipped on the front or on the back. It just makes it so easy. So I would use this cutter if I needed one. With 3D printing, hands down, one of the best printers I have ever used. I have owned over 30 printers. I've been 3D printing since 2017. If you want a printer that's large, quiet, bamboo quality, overall amazing, this is the printer to get. I added the link down below. If you use that, we do get a compensation. But honestly, whether you use the link or not, this printer is amazing. And last but not least, let's talk about laser engraving. I've owned a bunch of laser engravers. You can see a lot of the videos on our YouTube channel. This one is by far one of the easiest, and it was just so quick. There's a ton of automation that I didn't have with the other ones. It has air assist. I mean, I will use the laser engraver again. I mentioned this already, but we have a video coming out where we compare the H2S to the H2D. We're also comparing the X1C to the H2S. We want to just see, of all the Bambu Lab printers, which one is the best, the fastest, the best quality, which one is the most quiet. I will say that this one, spoiler alert, is probably one of the most quiet printers I've ever used, even comparing that to the H2D. So would I recommend the H2S? Let's try on the armored suit and then I'll tell you. For the armor test, I'll be using my son. Let's go. This thing looks so awesome. My son's gonna use this for Halloween. He was loving it. He was going in the mirror afterwards and doing different poses. He loved this design. It's now his to keep. And man, it looks so good. The quality is phenomenal. So would I recommend the H2S? Yes, 100%. This thing's amazing. It is now one of my top favorite printers. If you're new to 3D printing, this is a great place to get started, or you can just take a look at this video right here.